Imagine it's 2020. You're a third-generation farmer in Nebraska. You've just heard your neighbor sold his 500-acre family farm. Not to another farmer. Not to a local family. To a shell company you've never heard of. You'll later find out that shell company is owned by Bill Gates. The tech billionaire who's never planted a crop in his life just outbid you for land your family farmed for 80 years. You're standing in your field, watching tractors clear the property next door. Feeling something you've been chasing your whole adult life slip away. But here's what no one tells you. Not the real estate agent. Not the politicians promising to protect family farms. Not the financial advisors talking about diversification. Almost everything you were taught about farming and land ownership is being rewritten by billionaires playing a completely different game. This isn't theory. It's accounting. Bill Gates now owns 242,000 acres of American farmland. That's bigger than New York City. He's the largest private farmland owner in the United States. And the reason why reveals a truth about wealth that changes everything. Let's begin. Number 1. The buying machine you've never heard of. While you were watching Bitcoin crash and recover, something else was happening. Cascade Investment LLC, Bill Gates' personal investment firm, began quietly purchasing farmland. Not hundreds of acres. Hundreds of thousands. Here's the mechanism. In 2017, Cascade bought over $500 million worth of farmland assets in a single transaction. One deal? $500 million. A year later, $171 million on 14,500 acres of Washington farmland. That farm grows potatoes for McDonald's French fries. They didn't buy a farm. They bought a factory that produces food Americans eat every single day. The numbers: 242,000 total acres across 19 states. $1.4 billion in total investment. Largest private owner in America, 0.03% of U.S. farmland, but number 1 among individuals. When asked on Reddit, Gates said, "There isn't some grand scheme involved. All these decisions are made by a professional investment team." He's right, there's no conspiracy. But the financial logic his team is using is so powerful, the real question isn't why Gates. It's why isn't every billionaire doing this? The answer: many are. You just haven't noticed yet. Number 2. Why dirt beats digital. While crypto investors watched their portfolios swing 60% in a year, farmland delivered something different: stability. Over the last 30 years, U.S. farmland has delivered positive returns every single year. Not most years, every single year. Here's the comparison. Farmland 1990 to 2020. Average annual return: 11.5% volatility, 6.8%. Negative years: 0. Correlation with stocks: 0.1 S&P 500, same period. Average annual return: 10.7% volatility, 16.9% negative years, EIGHT. Correlation with farmland: 0.1 Bitcoin 2013 to 2023. Average annual return: 230% volatility, 90% plus negative years, 5. Correlation with sanity: unknown. Farmland returned slightly more than stocks with half the volatility and 0 correlation. That's not an investment. That's a cheat code. And here's the mechanism that makes it perfect for billionaires. As inflation rises, food prices rise. As food prices rise, farmland values rise. As farmland values rise, rental income from that land rises. It's not just an inflation hedge. It's an inflation profiteer. You can't print more land. You can't create it in a lab. You can't mine it with GPUs. They aren't making any more of it. An analyst once called farmland gold with a coupon because, unlike gold, it pays you dividends through crop sales and rent. You could call it crypto with a coupon. It's a store of value that actually produces cash every single year. For a man trying to preserve a $100 billion fortune, this combination of returns, stability, and inflation protection isn't just smart, it's perfect. Number 3. Control and synergy. But the money alone doesn't explain everything. When you connect the dots between Gates' investments, his foundation's work, and what he says publicly, a bigger picture emerges. First, the food supply. There's an old saying, control the food, and you control the people. As world population grows and farmland shrinks, being paved over for suburbs and cities, owning the means of food production becomes incredibly valuable. Owning the land is the first and most critical step in the entire food chain. Second, the synergy. Through Cascade and other investments, Gates has poured money into Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, plant-based meat companies trying to replace traditional animal agriculture. At the same time, the Gates Foundation has spent billions promoting GMO supercrops in developing countries. Now connect that to his 242,000 acres of American farmland. One man owns the land, invests in the food alternatives that might replace traditional farming, and funds the technology that will decide how that land gets used. Whether that's an intentional grand scheme or not, the result is the same. An incredible level of influence over the future of food. From the seed all the way to your plate. Third, the wealth strategy. Gates' land isn't under one name. It's owned through a web of shell companies and LLCs. This structure has massive benefits. It allows the ultra-wealthy to borrow against these assets to get cash without selling anything and triggering a taxable event. Even more important, when he dies, these assets will likely get a step up in basis. His heirs could avoid paying capital gains taxes on decades of growth. This isn't just about buying land. It's about building a tax-proof, generational wealth machine. Number 4. What this means for you. This isn't just an abstract financial story. It has real-world consequences. Those potatoes grown on Gates' Washington farm are in the McDonald's fries millions of Americans eat every day. His investment choices are directly shaping the supply chain for food you consume. But the impact is felt most sharply in local farming communities. Take Nebraska, where Gates owns over 20,000 acres. When a buyer with unlimited funds enters the market, it changes everything. Family farms can't compete. A local farmer might offer $10,000 per acre. Cascade Investment offers $15,000 cash. No inspection, no contingencies. The farmer is priced out. Gates adds another 20,000 acres to his portfolio. This pattern is happening across 19 states. It's creating something called absentee landlordism. Today, a huge chunk of U.S. farmland is rented out by owners who don't actually farm it. Gates Mono fits this perfectly. Cascade's subsidiary Cottonwood Ag Management hires professional managers to run the farms. Research suggests this creates a problem for long-term conservation. Tenant farmers on short-term leases don't have incentive to invest in sustainable practices like improving soil health. They might not be around to see the benefits. The wealth concentrates, the land consolidates, the family farm disappears. Not through failure, through being outbid by people playing a completely different game. Number 5. The ultimate asset. So why is Bill Gates buying up all this farmland instead of crypto? The answer comes down to two things. On one hand, it's the ultimate defensive financial move. In a world of digital speculation and shaky markets, he's moving his fortune into a hard, productive asset with a history of stable, market-beating returns. It's an inflation hedge, a source of steady cash, and a genius way to build generational wealth that avoids taxes. It's the cold, logical, and frankly undeniable decision you'd expect from a professional investment team, managing $100 billion. But on the other hand, it's also the ultimate offensive strategic move. It's a quiet accumulation of the most essential asset on our planet, the very infrastructure that sustains human life. It gives him structural influence over the global food supply, and it creates powerful synergies with his other investments in food tech and agricultural science. So while the headlines and the crypto crowd are busy chasing the next digital unicorn, Bill Gates is playing a much older and much more powerful game. He's following the oldest rule of wealth. They aren't making any more of it. He's not just buying farmland. He's buying the factory that produces the one thing humans can never stop needing: food. And that might just be the most valuable asset of all. This is historical and educational analysis, not financial or investment advice. The things you think are assets might not be. The things billionaires are buying might reveal what actually is. History doesn't repeat, but the ledger always balances. If this analysis changed how you think about wealth and assets, hit that subscribe button. This channel exists to examine systems before they finish their work, to see patterns that determine outcomes long before outcomes arrive. Drop a comment. Is this brilliant wealth preservation or concerning food system consolidation? See you in the next one.